We're going to talk a lot about audiophile, your stereo at home. Basically, we want to get into that here. So again, this is I'm your man Adam here. I host this event here. I got some special guests on with me that I'm really excited to bring in here. Again, we're going to be chatting a lot about today's stereos, what those components look like. So it's going to be a really fun show. So I want to get started here. Everyone, welcome. Let's get ready to rock and roll. Hey, friends.
Hey, how's it going?
That's great. Great. How we doing today? Good?
Doing good. How you doing, Adam?
Oh, great. Okay, guys, here with me today, I'm very happy to have Joseph Bushell from Cambridge, and I have David Solomon from Qobuz, a nice little streaming service there. So today's show, again, I want to kind of go over it again for everybody. This is really, really interactive, so I can't wait to get started. I want your questions to come across, but we're really going to focus today on, we're calling it Audiophile 2.0. Okay, today's hi-fi stereo systems, and we're going to talk about things like, what do those components look like? I mean, it's been the evolution of audio. It's changed, you know, in terms of what people have in their systems now and how we're listening to music and the wide, vast variety of where we can get our music from, you know. So what does a typical stereo system look like today? That's something we're going to talk about. Also go over the streaming, ever popular streaming services and those differences. So I want to dig in here, but I want to, again, introduce my friends here. Joseph, Cambridge Audio. Give me a little background and talk about Cambridge a little bit.
Yeah, sure. I've been working for Cambridge for over 2 years now. In 2017, we took over service and distribution directly for the US. So I got in fairly early on that, and I've been happy with Cambridge ever since. Company from the UK. We're now, continually growing in the US. So I'm very excited for all that. And I work in customer support. Okay. So if anybody has any issues with their equipment or has any general questions or anything like that, they'll either reach me or some of the other really knowledgeable customer support people that we have on our team.
Very cool, very cool. And I can't help but notice there, what is behind you? What speaker is that?
This is an old Technics 3-way speaker.
Yeah.
Right. When I was first setting up my system, I had all the components because, I got some great components from Cambridge, which are behind me right now. The CX8, the CX line, and then I got my cassette deck and all that good stuff. But I didn't have the speakers.
All right.
Yeah, so I asked my parents. I was like, "Hey, you guys have any speakers or something?" And they said, "Yeah, we have these 20-year-old speakers that we used when you were a kid." And I was like, "All right." So I plugged them in, and they sound fantastic. So I've just been using them ever since.
That's super cool. Really, really cool. Awesome. Well, thank you for joining us today. I really appreciate you taking the time. I really do.
Glad to be here.
Below me, there we go. This guy over here, David Solomon from Qobuz. Thank you again for having us. What's your background? You've been in this industry for a while. There we go. It's always backwards. You've been in the industry a while now. What's your backstory?
Oh man, it's like what haven't I done in this industry? I started off in retail and ended up getting into the wholesale side of things, working for several companies, Monitor Audio, Musical Fidelity. I started a company a while back called Peachtree Audio with my friend Jim Spainhour. And then a few years ago, I started getting into streaming in a big way. I think most of the companies knew that I was in it anyway, because I've been talking streaming for about 12 years, way before it was popular to do.
Yes.
And so I ended up working for a company called Tidal. I brought Tidal into the United States. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It was the first full bit service that was available. And just bringing in 1644 was just an absolute blast. I left those guys shortly after Jay-Z took over, about 6 months after Jay-Z took over, did a few more projects. And a few years later, this company Qobuz got in touch with me and wanted to talk to me about launching not only a full bit but a high-res service in the United States. So that was a super easy decision for me, because this is the most fun thing that I've ever done in my life anyway. So I decided to do that. So I'm really proud that I'm the only guy, I guess, that's ever launched 2 high-res streaming services in any country. So it's been a lot of fun. It's been a huge learning experience.
Yeah.
With both companies, the focus has been on, or at least my plan was always to support the audio industry as much as absolutely possible. So when I got to Qobuz, these guys were all into that. They bought in on the whole the whole plan, and that's exactly what we're doing. We are supporting the industry, which is our largest marketing effort at this point.
Oh yeah, you guys are doing a great job with that, and we'll talk more about that going forward and everything. Joseph, I just want to let you know, you have a fan.
Well, yeah, I mean, they're great speakers, so I'm sure they definitely have been around. So anybody who does have them, they're graced with good sound.
Absolutely, absolutely. Just wanted to let you know there, people got your speakers there. Yeah, like I said, I've known David a while, and yeah, you certainly have been talking streaming for a long, long time. A lot of the stuff I learned came from you, so thank you for that. You're a very good educator. So let's dig in here, and like I said, we kind of went over what we're going to talk about. The first thing I want to talk about is the term audiophile. Now, I'm in sales with Worldwide Stereo, so I'm on the showroom floor. And the amount of times when people come in and they'll say to me, well, I'm not an audiophile, so I don't need, and I hate the word audiophile. Just seems to have this negativity maybe around it, or some people are scared of the word or anything like that. Look, I'm here to say, and you guys, chime in and let me know what your thoughts are. But the word audiophile, man, if you like music, if you just like listening to music, I don't care if it's you sit in front of the speakers and you passionately listen to music, or you just like to turn music on so it helps the ambiance of whatever you're doing. Cleaning the kitchen or whatever. If you got music on, you're an audiophile, in my opinion. What do you guys think?
Well, I think, like you said, audiophile kind of has grown to have this negative connotation around it. But I mean, after being in this industry for over 2 years, going to many shows and seeing everybody who does consider themselves an audiophile, I can definitely say that that's not true in the slightest. An audiophile can take many forms. Somebody who's been really taking care of their hi-fi for over 40 years, or, somebody who's just really, really into great sounding music. So that's kind of, my take on it.
Sure. And real quick, chime in here. I just didn't want to leave David out. You have a fan from Peachtree there, just letting you know. It's got some Peachtree stuff there, so you got a fan. Go ahead. What do you think about the word audiophile, David?
I don't like the word.
Okay.
Because it typically, at least to me, it means someone who's more interested in the gear than they are the music. But at the same time, I'm an audiophile as well. I love great gear. Mm-hmm. But it's not the thing that determines if I'm going to enjoy the music. So I could be at a grocery store, right? And my, a great tune will come on. I'll enjoy that immensely, right?
Sure.
My preference is always to be listening to one of my high-end systems. If I could always be doing that, then I always would. But it's amazing how much great response you can get off of just actually some fairly modest stuff these days.
It's gotten better,
unlike
right?
Unlike the era that Joseph's speakers are in. Really, there's some very modest gear that can produce what I would consider high-end audio these days, especially in the headphone world. Really, really inexpensive to get it into high-end in the headphone world. But yeah, there's a lot of great ways to listen to music. When people start talking to me about their system first instead of the music first, they're really kind of I call that an audiophobe. Really, the audiophile in its most pure sense, it's someone who just absolutely adores music and will go to the end of the earth to try to produce that in their own environment.
Yeah, and I think I got Sam here. He just put a comment in here, and it says, "But if audiophile has such a negative connotation, then why use it?" I mean, it is a term. I guess what I'm focusing on personally is more of how sometimes people can kind of again have that negative side to the word, but it's really an audiophile is wide open. So I'm personally trying to remove that. I know David, you said you don't like it, the word, because maybe it talks more about the gear than that. Look, it's in our industry. If you like music, then you're in the club. That's really what it's all about. It's about the music and getting the enjoyment and emotional ride, I would say, from listening to music. So next, I kind of want to go, and we talked about that word here, and let's move on. I want to go with, let's get into the meat of what we're talking about as far as what does an Audiophile 2.0, a stereo system in 2020? So I was born in 79. I'm 40 years old. I think it's interesting where I'm at because I was right at the tail end of all like that great, or what we would consider vintage gear, vinyl and cassettes. And, I grew up with, and my dad even had an 8-track machine and those and reel to reel. So I've seen all of that. And then I've seen the transition to, the Walkman, to the portable CD player, to the MP3 player, and all of that. So I've really seen this really wide evolution of how we've listened to music over the years. So, back then, that's what the gear was. It was reel-to-reel machines and tape decks and vinyl. The amount of evenings I spent copying records onto tape, with my dad after dinner was unbelievable. That's just what we did. But today, the equipment there's some similarities, but what's really changed? What do you think, Joseph, when you think of what today's system looks like? What kind of components are we seeing?
Gotcha. Well, we still see a lot of the great stuff that's been around, for years and years. I mean, as evidenced behind me, I got my 20-year-old speakers and my God knows how old cassette deck. But I think the thing about modern audiophiles and a modern stereo system, it's all about kind of simplicity. And then along with that, it's a big emphasis on streaming these days. Mm-hmm. So, along with all of my, great older gear, I have, a CXN, which is a network streamer, yep, which basically is kind of a hub for all your networked digital music, whether it be, stuff from streaming services, NAS drives, or stuff you have set up on UPnP on your computer. Mm-hmm. So there's just a lot of different ways to access that digital music. And the CXN is basically, kind of a piece of gear that brings it all together, makes it easily accessible.
Oh, sure. Absolutely. And Lewis, I definitely agree with you. It is okay to be a fan of great gear. Absolutely. I love it. I love it. So David, talking to you, like I said, you've been, pitching the streaming content, and you've also obviously lived that evolution. What would you say as far as what does today's audio system look like? What kind of components are you seeing from your end?
Routers.
Okay, that's a good one.
Endpoints, switches. One of the things that's become super important in audio these days, and most system backbones just really live on it, is the internet. But the really good news about the internet right now is a few years ago, we were dealing with really, really low internet speeds. Like if you look at just 5 years ago, we were looking at like 2 to 3 megabit download. Download speed. Now we're averaging 20 megabits in the United States. That's absolutely amazing. There are still those rural areas that that's not going to get adequate internet, but really for the most part, the internet has really, really become very robust at this point and makes all of these new things that we're doing, like streaming high resolution, possible. I remember when I started with Tidal, even doing 1644 to a large degree was a pipe dream. These days, that's just absolutely no problem at all. So that's probably the first biggest change that I've seen in the last, say, even really 10 years. And the other is not only unlimited music. We've had unlimited music really for kind of a long time now because of companies like Spotify and even before that, Napster, when people were doing the BitTorrent or BitTorrent. So lots of ways that you've had lots of music for a long time. Mm-hmm. But really, this generation is the first generation to see true high resolution up to 24:192 being streamed over the internet. Mm-hmm. That changes lives. And really the experience that we can get now with just, I don't know about you guys, but whenever I open up Qobuz or even Tidal, I have to pinch myself to go, are you kidding me? There's
all this is here.
7,000 new albums this week. I remember the days that when we used to go buy records and buy CDs and buy physical media. And when I was a kid, I was like maybe 12 years old. My mom would carry me to the record store every Saturday after I got my paycheck, and I could buy 2 or 3 albums, but it took so much time to amass any kind of a collection. And then the other thing that I've noticed is that, but that's why you see so many of the people in our generation going, "Oh no, this album is like it's the end all be all to me," whatever that album is. And the reason those albums are so important to people in our generation and not quite as important as the generation now is because it's all we had. If we had 50 albums, we were listening to these things constantly over and over and over. And I did the same thing. And now I go, wow, I probably need to go listen to The Pretender again, right? Because I haven't listened to it in 5 years. It's not like it's on once every 2 or 3 times a month kind of a thing. So yeah, it's changed a lot. What your stereo system looks like, Joseph, I think, did a really nice job of that. But beyond what your stereo system looks like, just the way that you get that you ingest music these days, and the amount of music that you ingest these days has totally changed the landscape in a really, really positive way.
Oh yeah. So here we have a nice question from Michael. Is it worth adding a turntable to your system if you currently own no records, or is a high-end streamer a better option? Wow, that is a great question, Michael. Yeah. I would, I think I'll start that one off here. I'd say, yes. I love turntables and I love vinyl. I think it's something, because there's so many different ways to get great music, and this is something we'll talk about in depth a little bit further, though. But yeah, it's all good. It's all good stuff. High-end streamers and turntables, it's all a great way to listen to music these days. So that's kind of my take on it, but we'll certainly dig deeper on that. David or Joseph, you want to comment on that at all?
Yeah, sure. I would say, if turntables and records are something you're interested in, I would say it's definitely something, that's worth getting into, because while streaming is super convenient and it offers really high quality experiences, there is something so unique about the record listening experience. So I've been collecting records since I was maybe 12, 13 years old. So it's something that is very important to me. But I would say it's worth it to get both. To be able to integrate the old with the new is always the best option, in my opinion. So to have a turntable and a streamer, it's to have both conveniences at your disposal is something that'd probably be a great idea, especially if you're a big music listener.
Yeah, cool.
I would say that it just totally depends on you. If you think it's something that you would enjoy, just like Joseph said. Listen, it's a lot of fun. I've been doing it since I was a kid. I'll never give up vinyl. There's something about opening that vinyl and smelling the cardboard and taking it out. It's the
static coming off the record when you pull it out, right?
Right. It's something that you don't go into with a light commitment. If you're into it, go for it. It's a lot of fun. If you're not and you're just kind of messing around with it, put the extra money in your speakers. You will enjoy your system a lot more if you're just messing around with your system and you're buying a few albums here and there. Get into it big time, or put the money that you were going to put into the albums, into the rig, into a better amplifier, into better speakers, into a better router, into whatever you're going to be using 99% of the time. But having said that, I'll keep my albums forever. I've got a VPI Prime and listen to it when I'm in that one room in my house where I've got a turntable.
Awesome. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. All right. So we talked about what components or what changes that we've seen. So I think it's safe to say that today's Audiophile 2.0, or today's stereo system that we're seeing, first you got that great preamp or integrated amp and amplifier. So your electronics that you have there, that's definitely still a part of it. That's something that hasn't changed. And integrated amplifiers versus preamps and amps. There's some differences there, but that's the core of it. We're gonna have that. We're gonna have a great set of loudspeakers, obviously. And that's, I think, one of the biggest differentiators in a stereo system is, like when David was just saying there. Put that money into your loudspeakers. So we're still going to see that, and it's the source material that's changed, and basically the bulk of them, and you guys can agree with me or disagree, whatever you think. I think in terms of what I'm selling for sure is a great streamer and a great turntable, and those are the two pieces that I'll see in most of today's setups. One thing we don't see too much of is a CD player. Now, Joseph, you guys still make CD players, so how would you say the evolution of the CD player has evolved or changed?
Well, I would say it definitely hasn't had the comeback that turntables have been having as of recently. I would say turntables are definitely in records are kind of the biggest physical media that there are. But I mean, people have been collecting CDs, since they came out back in the 80s. So it's still a big, format that people listen to. And we always want to cater to, everybody. So we have the CXC, which is a CD transport that we make. It's in our CX line, which is kind of our mid-range, really consumer-focused series. So yeah, I mean, CDs are very important, but like I said, in terms of the evolution of the CD, it definitely hasn't had that comeback the vinyl has had yet. Maybe it will in the future. I don't know, but
don't throw them out yet. You'll be one of those guys like, I threw out all my CDs. Oh god.
Exactly.
Like I hear that all the time with, man, I gave those records away. I shouldn't have done that. So we'll see. But so that brings me to another point, and I'll get David on this one. So let's say, I mean, I have, my prime years, I'll call them, were in the 90s, man, and you had the CD books like just in your car, and if you had 6 of them, that was like a status symbol of how many big case CD books that you had. So now we're seeing, if somebody comes in for a CD player, you can take your CDs and you can actually rip them. That's become really, really popular. So Dave, do you do that at home, or do you still play the CD, or what about ripping? What do you think?
If I can impart any words of wisdom to the people that are listening now, don't rip your CD collection. It will break your heart. I did it for many, many years, and I can't tell you how many hard drives that at some point they're going to go bad. Here's what you want to rip. You want to rip the stuff that you can't get on a good streaming service.
Okay.
Because first off, your metadata will absolutely never match the metadata of a good streaming service. It can't happen. And then all the work that you put into it to make the metadata that you have really work. Once that hard drive does burn out and you've got a perfect backup of the data that you had before, you can transfer that and start using that new hard drive. However, the metadata will not transfer. When I say the metadata, I mean all of the metadata. So you'll end up with blank album covers. You'll end up with things that you don't know what they are. It's just too much of a hassle. And in my opinion, like CDs, it's an antiquated way to do things. Plus, most of the CDs that you've got now anyway, or a good number of them that you've got now anyway, are now available in high resolution. So if you've got 2,000 CDs burned in, and you're dealing with all of the downfalls that you have to deal with doing that kind of stuff, which time is one big one, then you realize that, oh wow, now I just recorded my whole Tool collection in. I know Adam's a big Tool guy. I just ingested my whole Tool collection. Oh my gosh, it sounds great. And then 10 minutes later, we got the whole collection in 2496. So it's just not the way to do it if you value your time at all. The last time my hard drive went out on me, I had a pencil. I was ready to stick a pencil in my neck. And I'm so glad we don't have to do that anymore. If you're into that torture, God bless. There's a lot of cool things about it, but I can tell you that there's a lot better way to do it these days than ripping your measly 2,000 CD collection into a hard drive. Because right now we've got, I think it's close to 50 million tracks.
That's insane.
So burn in what? I'll give you a really good example. I really like the original Roger Waters' Amused to Death. It's one of my favorite albums, and I listen to it fairly frequently, and I do use it for audio setup. You cannot find that anywhere. No streaming services got it. Roger Waters took it off the market, and I like it much better than the new version. So that's one that I've got on my hard drive. But now, instead of accessing these things, 100 times a day, I'm accessing this hard drive twice a month, 3 times a month. And I don't know about you guys, but my hard drive listening is getting less and less and less because our services are getting more and more and more. So that's the way I look at it.
Certainly, yeah, I did it in the beginning, and because of the lack of, or the difference in quality, I would say that was available at the time. So yeah, I took my cases of CDs that I had, and I did put them onto a hard drive, and I've moved them around to different things that I have. Like I said, sitting in my Blue Sound Vault unit in my stereo. That's where my current hard drive space is located for that. So, but I rarely go to it. Like you said, there's no reason with the quality personally of the streaming service that are available to type it in, and not only to see the album that I ripped into my vault, but every other album that I wish I had bought. All for a monthly fee. So that's where it really, I think, changes folks out there, is that when you think about it, it's, these streaming services, Qobuz, Tidal, Spotify, they have every album that you've ever had and every album that you've ever wanted to have. So why wouldn't
portion of them?
Or a good, it's just the collection is definitely more is bigger out there. So
there's one question though that and this is a really, really big point of confusion that Cruising RSX just threw up. iTunes gives you metadata and update when you download it. You're absolutely right, they do. But let's say that you've uploaded your whole collection and you've done the right thing and you've uploaded them in like a FLAC or Apple's equivalent of that. Once you upload these into Music Match, that's you no longer have your 1644 recordings. Everything that's uploaded in Music Match, while they will give you the data to your point, it comes back to you in 256 kilobits per second, which is way less than 1411 kilobits per second that you uploaded it at. So be very cautious about Apple Music Match. It's not a good deal. They're letting you listen to what they've got recorded, not what you have put up there. So be real careful. Be real careful about that.
And folks, don't worry. There's a couple of times that we've thrown out some numbers and talked about 1644 and 1411 and 320, 256 and all that kind of stuff. Don't worry. We're going to explain what that means. I know sometimes that can be really confusing because there's a ton of numbers out there, but they are important numbers because it really does quantify, and you'll be able to wrap your head around what we're really talking about and why some of these services may give you better quality than others. So that was a good one here. Let me just, before we move forward, let me just take a little peruse through the comments here, see if there's anything I want to hit before we move on to our kind of section 2 here. And let's see. Well, you know what? Here, David, this is specifically for you because they're talking about Qobuz here. Can you stream Qobuz with AirPlay and not lose any sound quality?
No, AirPlay resamples everything to 1648. So if you're dealing with a 1644 disc, you're not dealing with a 1644 disc. You're dealing with Apple's version of it, which is 1648. It does downgrade. It's better than Bluetooth, but if you say throw a 2496 recording in there, you're just going to get 1648. Everything 1648 through an Apple.
Got it. So that's good to know. Okay. All right. So I think that's good. We got some more coming through. Folks, keep in mind there is a 30-second delay. So if I were to say type in the number 1, in about 30 seconds, we'll start to see those coming through on the comments. So just remember, don't worry if you ask a question, we will do our best to get to them. There is just that little bit of a delay with the live streaming. So, all right. So moving on. So we talked about what kind of today's components look like, and we mentioned, we talked about CD players and ripping a CD collection and things like that. Let's start to get into the meat of this a little bit when talking about those numbers that I was just referring to. So David said 1411, he said 256. And I think really out there, the most important number when you're dealing with the digital streaming is that bit rate, because that really tells you, again, and quantifies the number. And when you look at a CD, which that's kind of our standard, that's what everybody's really, really familiar with. So a CD's quality is 1,411 kilobits per second. That's what's being thrown out there. Up to. Very good. Thank you for correcting me there, David. You are the master. So up up to 1,411 kilobits per second. And so you mentioned Apple, right? Apple, you said that does it at 256, and you have Spotify, that's a 320. So you can start to see how some of these services will differentiate themselves. Now, when we talk about 2496, now we're really starting to get up there. What do those numbers look like, David?
Those are over
like
5,000. Yeah, that's over 5,000. That's over 5,000, and then which is a far shot from Spotify at 320 kilobits per second. And then when you go to 24,192, you're up over 9,000, 9,500 or so, up to those kind of numbers. So if you think about it all in kilobits per second, as opposed to switching from 250 kilobits per second as opposed to 1644, what does that mean? It's maddening. If you keep everything in kilobits per second, you can get a real idea of how much extra you're getting when you start stepping up. So the real step up is 192 Pandora, 256 Apple, 320 Spotify, 1411 and up on Tidal, 14 and 11 up to over 9,500 on Qobuz. That's kind of your general quality statement, I guess, or reference statement.
Yeah, as far as streaming. And then just for some of the people out there, there's also that thing DSD out there. And actually, I apologize, we didn't talk about this beforehand. I just thought of it now. But that's another version of that. I haven't even looked that up. Is there a kilobit per second on that one, on DSD stuff? Yeah,
I mean, once you go up to that would be like up to like 32,384, and you'd be like crazy up there. I'm not sure what the numbers are on that. However, if you're interested in that, I've got a calculator, a bit calculator that I can put up on Streaming Music Matters, and you can figure that out. It's really, really easy to plug in what format you're using and find out the kilobits per second. I'll make a note of that, and I'll have that up there this afternoon.
That's cool. So that's your page on Facebook, the Streaming Music Matters, right, David?
Yeah, that's a Qobuz fan page, but mostly it's a bunch of music lovers that share all kinds of music with the group. However, I do have when being technical has an advantage, which sometimes it doesn't. When it does have an advantage, like knowing what you're listening to with this calculator, it is quite interesting and telling about the formats that you're listening to or that you're interested in.
Yeah, Adam, I saw a pretty good question from Steve Mankowski.
Okay.
It was a little bit earlier. Can human ears tell the difference between all these bit rates? And I just wanted to kind of put in a little something on that.
Sure,
a lot of people talk about, they'll say something like 16-bit, 44.1 kilohertz. And when you talk about kilohertz, a lot of people associate that with kind of the human range of hearing, which is, between 20 hertz and 20 kilohertz. So 20 and 20,000 hertz.
Yeah.
But when we talk about like 1644.1 kilohertz, it's not talking about the necessary sound frequencies that are in like your digital file. Basically, when creating a digital file, you'll have the original analog, sine wave, the sound wave of, the music that you're listening to.
Right.
And when you get to 44.1 kilohertz, it takes digital information and recreates that original analog sound wave. And so 44.1 kilohertz means it's able to sample 44,100 samples per second. So the higher up that goes, the more accurate it becomes to recreating the original analog sound wave. So when you compare something that's like CD quality, 16-bit, 44.1 kilohertz, to, when you get to high quality FLAC files like 24-bit, 192 kilohertz, you just get much more accurate digital representation of, the original analog music. So, you definitely can tell the difference, when you start to compare them side by side. So, that's just something else. It's kind of, a simple way to look at it.
Yeah, it's like resolution, like on a picture. The higher the megapixels of the image, the clearer and sharper it looks, and that's what we're doing.
Exactly.
With the sampling frequencies. We can take more pictures and get a better representation of that true original analog sine wave. Also wanted to throw one. I had where'd
Hey,
it go?
can I hop in there on that one, Adam?
Absolutely, yeah. I'm looking for another question that Jed for Joseph.
Yeah, the reason that I want to hop in on this is because this always takes on, and if you look over the internet and the audio discussion boards, can you tell the difference? Is there a difference? I'm older. The same things that Joseph was saying. This is all dealing with playback and theoretical numbers. Yes, you can hear the difference, and let me tell you why you can hear the difference. Almost every recording studio these days is putting up 75 to 90% of the stuff that they are putting out in a higher resolution format. Let's say it's 2496. The real advantage here is not your advantage. I mean, it does turn into your advantage, but the real advantage is how is it recorded? So if you're dealing with 16 bits, that's all you can do. You've got to be one really great recording engineer to use all of those 16 bits. What really ends up happening is they leave a little headroom there because nobody wants to go over and do digital clipping. That sounds horrible. So what they end up doing is recording lower than that. So you end up with a bunch of null bits under it. And you could be dealing with, although it's a 1644 format, you're really a lot of times dealing with 12 bits or 8 bits or 14 bits. Rarely 16 bits. So when you have a format that you can record in as a recording engineer and you've got 24 bits at your disposal, then it's much more likely that you're going to hit that 16-bit mark or that 18-bit mark. So this isn't a theoretical discussion. Can I hear the difference? Yeah, you can hear the difference because the recordings are turning out boatloads better than they have ever been because they're recording them in this format. So the question is, do I want that benefit that these guys have got in the recording space? And the answer should be, I guess, I mean, if you're into music at all, yeah, you do want it in a high resolution. And none of the other stuff matters. The dynamic range that a system will do or not do, how high you can hear or can't hear, none of that matters. The only thing that matters is you're getting a better recording delivered because of this extra technology. That's it.
It's like the right tool for the job, the right tool for the job, it's going to get, go sideways on you. So here's one specifically, Joseph, I wanted to get your take on. So tell me more about the CXN. Is it Roon ready? And we didn't talk about Roon yet, but we'll get into it for sure.
Yeah, no, thank you, Lillian, for asking that question. The CXN and 851N and the Edge NQ, all of our streamers are Roon ready. The CXN was just recently added, so it's a pretty new thing. Roon is a great, convenient, digital music kind of organization service. So, if you don't know anything about it, I recommend really looking into it. It's, something that makes everything super convenient for people who are trying to get into it for the first time or people who've been dealing with digital music for years and years and years. It's a great way to, organize all that music and have everything in one place.
Excellent. I think I want to get into now. So I think it's a good time to go for it. So you just said, if we're with Joseph with the sine wave, right? And then we got to take a snapshot. We got to convert it to digital. Well, what if, we need a DAC now, right? So the DAC is taking this, we're taking the digital file and turning it into this guy right here. So we got to do the reverse. So talk about the importance of a DAC. First of all, what is a DAC?
Well, a DAC stands for digital to analog converter. So basically, the sound that comes out of your speakers, it's an analog sound, right? So if you're using streaming or, digital files or anything like that, it has to go through a DAC before it can come out of your speakers. Whether it's, a DAC that's built into your equipment or you have an outboard DAC, but every digital piece of media has to pass through a DAC before it can come out the speakers. And a DAC is very, very important to your system. And, one of the philosophies we have at Cambridge is, kind of keeping everything clean and keeping the, digital signal as, clean and uncluttered as it can. So, we always recommend looking into outboard DACs if you want, that's kind of like a next step. But essentially with the DAC, you put your digital music through the DAC, and it converts the digital file. It takes all that digital information and then recreates it into an analog sound wave. And then, you have it coming out of your speakers.
Right. Because the end result is always is always analog. That's how we as humans work. So
Exactly.
we need to make that happen. This was a good question that popped up surrounding us. Please go down the DAC rabbit hole. DACs now cost more than my entire system. It's not possible to do a comparison. So how do we decide where to start and when to quit the insane spending? So that's a great question. And I'd say for how do DACs cost more than entire system, is it possible to do comparisons? I mean, yeah, really, it's hard to, I guess, talk to your AV dealer at that. Like I know on our showroom floor, we certainly have different DACs and different digital content. We're certainly always helping and moving maybe equipment around to try and hear those differences. But I think you want to think about, and David and Joseph jump in here and correct me if I'm wrong or have something to say here. It's like, you want to think about what you're trying to accomplish. Like think about the streaming services that you're going to be dealing with and what your DAC requirements would be. I mean, one of the big things that you can kind of geek out on a little bit is DAC chips. Oh my God, DAC chips and all the different variations, Burr, Brown, Wolfson, AKM, and all the, Saber DACs and all that kind of stuff. Oh, mine's better. It's got this Saber DAC. Oh, I got the AKM DAC. And although that's important, I think, but it's more important about the implementation of that DAC and how you take that chip and what you do with it. I mean, there's some still really good sounding Burr Brown DACs out there, but because it wasn't the DAC chip, it was the implementation. So what are you guys thinking? I'm going to kind of pull this question around, unless David, you want to go like this and look like Wilson from Tool Time, coming up over the fence there, talking about the comment. But so go ahead.
DACs are all over the place, and Adam is 1,000,000% right. People go, oh no, I've got the 9018 ESS Saber DAC, and that's the thing. That's like our recording discussion. It's already done by then. So yeah, implementation to me is the absolute key. I've heard some wonderful, just non-oversampling 1644 DACs from like Art and Knotson that sound fantastic. But yeah, and they're in all kinds of price ranges. Like I gotta tell you, I use this a whole lot, this little AudioQuest Dragonfly.
Yeah.
If you're just starting in with audio, this is a great little DAC to get your toe wet in. It's really inexpensive. I think how much are they, Adam, now? Like $300?
Yeah, $300 for the Cobalt, $199 for the red, and
so
like
that's all
$100 for the black.
That's all this is just a little piece that if you're on your computer, you just plug it right into your computer, and it's got a little analog out that can go into your hi-fi. Or the way that I use this, like 90% of the time, because we don't just listen to music when we're at home, right? We want it to be as good as we can have it everywhere. Yeah. So like when I'm on a flight, I've always got like 500 albums downloaded. I use a little Dragonfly with this little adapter. Yep. And then I can get full at least 2496 resolution. I noticed there was an MQA question on there too. Although we don't do MQA, Tidal does. This will also decode at least the first unfold of MQA. So it's a really, really neat little piece. And then there's, at least with our service, all you have to have is something that'll do 24/192. Even the most modest DACs these days do that. So if it's a question of price, and you really want to stay low, I would honestly start with something like that. I mean, it's really a fantastic way to get your toe wet. And Joseph, you guys have got some really nice DACs that aren't real expensive either, right?
Yeah, we have 3 standalone DACs that we offer. The DAC Magic XS, which is very similar to the Dragonfly. It's kind of, just for hooking up to your PC or your MacBook or anything like that. And it's got the 3.5 millimeter, headphone jack out, which you can either hook up to your hi-fi or, just use headphones for personal listening. And then we have
how much is the DAC? How much is it?
The DAC Magic XS is $74.99. So it's definitely a very inexpensive and just like a nice little DAC to have if you want to boost your computer audio. And then up from that, we have the DAC Magic 100, which is $199.99. It has a few more, inputs and everything like that. Some optical inputs and digital coax inputs.
Very helpful.
And then the DAC Magic Plus, which, along with DAC, has upsampling and everything like that. So it really kind of maximizes your digital sound. But one point I did want to bring up, which Adam kind of mentioned earlier, is talking to your AV dealers and your AV reps, like contacting Cambridge Audio customer support or Worldwide Stereo customer support. These people are experts who know everything about DACs, and they're there for a reason. So if you feel really overwhelmed by the very overwhelming amount of DACs there are to choose from, I would say, try to contact the resources at your disposal. And that's, that's what I'm here for. And that's what, the customer support team at Worldwide Stereo is there for.
Yeah, I would agree. And not only that, I will say the acquisition of a DAC has, I think, diminished, at least from what I'm seeing on the showroom floor, because a lot of the equipment that I'm selling is coming with a great DAC built into it already. I mean, a few years back, it was you had to buy it and because it wasn't built into that unit. So, we're seeing a lot more of that. So just talking about, there was somebody said, the CXN is $1,000. It's a little bit out of my price range. There's other products out there that'll do similar things and still have a really good DAC in it. I mean, the CXN is one of the more, I'd say, flagship style pieces out in the industry in terms of performance, for sure. But there's other units out there for $500, for $350, or $400 that it's going to do a similar thing. Again, not to the CXN's performance level, but a similar experience that you're gonna have a lot of fun with. So there's lots of stuff out there for everybody to have. So with that, so now that we're talking about specifically the CXN and kind of Qobuz, I mean, app control is absolutely, I think, king, and you got to have a good app these days, because where everybody's running around, and they're controlling everything with their phone. The app lives on there. That's how you control the CXN. That's how you control Qobuz and different realms. And you also have a desktop controller for Qobuz as well. So your app has got to be good. So I want to start here with Joseph. I have he sent me that little presentation on your system, and it's called Stream Magic. So if you're ready, I want to throw that up there. You want to get going on that?
Yeah, for sure.
All right. So give me a second here, folks. I have to do a little share my screen here. And I will hit here and just a couple slides. So go ahead, Joseph.
Stream Magic is the newest app that we've come out with over the years since we've started, streaming and creating apps. We've had a few, that we've made. Cambridge Connect, different apps for different, devices that we've had. But Stream Magic is kind of an amalgam of all of them, trying to take the best aspects of all those apps and put them into one. And so the Stream Magic app is compatible with all the devices that you see there. So the CXN, the CXR 120 and 200, the CXN V2, which is the newest version of the CXN we have out, the 851N and the Edge NQ. It's compatible with all of those. Some of our older streamers have different streaming technology, so unfortunately they're not compatible. But you can use them to access any of these devices. You can use Stream Magic. And so just kind of a look at the interface of the app itself. You have your music at your fingertips. So basically you control everything, through the Stream Magic app. You can see here we're using Qobuz. And so if you go on to the next slide, it's basically what we've tried to do is create something of a hub so that you have, everything tailored for you. On the home screen of the Stream Magic app, it's going to show you recent radio stations that you've listened to, recent sources that you've listened to, title recommendations, all that good stuff. So we really want the experience to be tailored to your listening habits. And then full control of multiple devices. If you have multiple Cambridge devices on your network, they'll all show up in the Devices tab on the app itself. So, you could select the input on the CXN, or if you have an 851N as well, you can switch to that input. So, it really is kind of an app that has been able to integrate all of our, modern streaming devices. And then also, configuring your device, you have the full control of all the settings. So you can, rename your device to whatever you want, set, volume levels, turn on specific settings or turn them off, So all the settings that you have on the device itself, you can also control through the app.
Okay.
and then the very best of internet radio stations. So all of our streamers have access to over 20,000 internet radio stations from all around the world. So it's super easy to search for whatever radio station you have. If there's a local station that you really love, chances are they're gonna have a internet stream that is included with the radio provider that we use. And also, if you have a favorite radio station that you don't see, you can always contact Cambridge Audio, and there's a possibility that we could get it added. But so yeah, over 20,000 internet radio stations that come pre-installed. You don't have to subscribe to anything like that. So it's really nice if you're a big fan of radio.
Nice. And of course.
And yes, now recently, I would say a few months ago, we recently added integrated Qobuz. So, if you have a Qobuz subscription or were thinking about looking into high-res streaming services, you can get up to native 24.192 with Qobuz directly built into our unit. So you don't have to use Bluetooth or AirPlay or Chromecast or anything like that. You stream directly from the internet to the CXN itself, making the stream as direct as it can be.
That's great. So you get all the quality with that then.
Exactly.
Very cool. Very cool. Thank you. So that is the Qobuz, or excuse me, the Cambridge Stream Magic app in there. Thank you just for going through that. Now I want to shift gears a little bit, David, and if you need, let me get up. Do you have the Qobuz page ready to go there? We can show people that. I also want to mention, let me get this right here. So they have been very generous, and they're going to give away a 6-month subscription. Okay, one random person that was commenting here during this live video is going to get a free 6-month subscription to Qobuz. So that's really awesome. Thank you, David.
Happy to do that for you guys.
What is that? Worldwide Stereo Favorites.
Yeah, well, I thought I would go ahead and pull that up just to show what you guys had done with your playlist. You can actually search a number of our partners. You'll soon be able to do Cambridge, but right now you can search Worldwide Stereo, and you'll get the Worldwide Stereo playlist, which is kind of cool. But Adam had just asked that I just show you a little bit about the program, so I'll just show you a couple of things that I find pretty interesting. Along the top, there's always featured artists, but Qobuz really looks like however you want it to look. So if you are like only into classical music, you probably don't want to see Lang Lang or Lucinda Williams or anybody that's not classical. So if you are a classical music fan or whatever genre you like, pick it out, because that's what we want your homepage to look like. So now if I pick out just classical, the only thing I see in new releases are just classical. If I pick it out, if I don't have any genre picked out, one of the things that I wanted to show you all was, we had kind of talked about it before, but just how many new releases are coming out or are available in high-res audio. These are the new releases like within the last month or so. But look at all of the little the little high-res logos. By the way, we're the only streaming service in the world that's okay to use that high-res logo. That's all controlled by the Japanese Audio Society, and they are sticklers. That's why you don't see it on a lot of streaming services, but you see it on a whole lot of audio gear. But if you look at the number of high-res music selections that are out these days, it's sometimes 90%, depending on the week. But almost everything these days is coming out in high resolution. And Adam and Joseph, I'll ask you guys, and sure. I'm really not looking for any warm sunshine to be blowing up my skirt, but are you guys finding digital recordings better than they used to be, or are you finding them the same?
Oh, I mean, so just because of how long I've been doing it, I would say going through the evolution of things, it just seems to get more natural and more real sounding. Like before, in the early days of digital recordings, or digital, like the streaming and everything you're talking about, it did sound digital. It didn't sound like analog and warm and rich and that kind of thing. So yeah, I would say the recording quality has certainly gotten better, no doubt, because of all the tools that they have available to them now.
Yeah, and they're
Yeah.
just getting better at recording, right?
Yeah.
The recording engineers are so much better recording digital than they used to be. Joseph, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Oh, no problem. Yeah, I mean, I was just gonna say that. I mean, even I'm only 24 years old, but even within my lifetime, I've seen a huge evolution of digital music. Like I used to have an MP3 player that was like basically the size of a Walkman, like super thick like that, and
Yeah.
big as this.
Yeah.
And it used to be my favorite thing. I'd carry it around with me everywhere. And now we have better sounding audio, even just through a phone's headphone input or using, Bluetooth headphones. So, I mean, along with, all that, physical technology, I mean, digital files themselves and recordings have just gotten so much better.
Yeah, so our service also, instead of just giving you music, which is super important, and I think that's what most people are into it for, we also do a lot of editorial, and we do this all in house. So you'll always see a lot of panoramas and specials on different artists and whatnot. That really gives you a chance to learn a little more about the artist or whatnot. So this one, Grunge and 10 albums, just talks about the whole movement of grunge, but it gives you a real sense of, instead of just listening to the music, how it got there, why it got there, who put it out, and then there's a whole bunch of albums that that relate to those specials that we have. So the Qobuz really is a lot more than just a music service. It's really a music discovery service and a music knowledge base that I don't know of any other knowledge base in the world that can touch this. But yeah, we've got all kinds of great stuff happening these days with Qobuz, and it's just getting better and better every day.
Yeah, they certainly are, and I love the fact of, I was about to mention with Qobuz and guys, a lot of the other services that are out there, they don't give you this type of information. I mean, that's the one thing that a lot of people will talk about when you're dealing with, either somebody that likes to play the CDs or talking about vinyls, because of that cover art or that flipping through and reading about things as you're listening. And I think Qobuz has done a great job of giving that to you. Those liner notes that people talked about, or just that grunge and 10 albums, like fun stuff to read, which is great. David, I'm getting a lot of questions here that I'd like to kind of address, and talking about differences in I think quality levels here. Let me find that. If there's anything. Oh, also, I forgot to mention, we have not only the Worldwide Stereo playlist, but there is a collaboration that Cambridge Audio and we did. So that's on there too. That's a great one to look at. So that's a Worldwide Stereo and Cambridge collaboration playlist for everybody to check out.
Yeah, let me show you how to share that too, Adam. So you guys can actually just put this right on the live feed. And plus, I think this would be kind of cool for everybody to know anyway. This is just a random playlist that I've got. It's called Wow 2. And by the way, if you ever want to test out your stereo system, pull up Wow 2. You can search it publicly and take a listen to it. But let's say you wanted to share this worldwide and Cambridge playlist. The only thing you would do is go to the playlist itself. And then there's a little share function here. You just punch on that, click on the link, and then you can share that in an email or Facebook or Twitter,
Fantastic.
or really anywhere you want to share it. So you guys could actually share that on this live feed while we're here with those units.
Like that? Just like that.
Okay.
Let me go back to the one question that was here. Let me find it again. So here we go. So from Chris Cannon, difference between Amazon HD and Qobuz quality.
The actual music stream, not much different. The Amazon has gone all the way up to 24/192, just like we are. Probably the biggest difference is we have a heart. So at any rate, here's what happened. I think it was maybe it was September, I think, that they launched in the United States. and we were $25 and I think I think $25 for as much music as we're delivering in high resolution is a superb bargain. However, Amazon came in and they undercut us big time. They came in at $15 and we were going, oh my God. I'm pretty sure Bezos is going, oh, we'll put these guys out of business in a skinny minute, which really, if we were dealing with the same, cost structure, it probably would have put us out of business. I mean, the difference between $15 and $25 for basically the same content, that is absolutely huge. Well, instead of just, rolling over and taking it, our guys in France got busy and they started renegotiating with the record labels, and we dropped our price in November to $14.99. And if you pay by the year, you're at $12.50. So the difference now is not nearly as much as it used to be. It used to be, wow, $10. I could see that, especially right now. But now you're dealing with two companies, one underdog, which would be us at $15 a month, and then the guys that are trying to take over the world at $15. I would ask that you give us a shot because we're better guys and we're truly the music lovers. And here's the thing, you won't ever find Amazon doing something like this. You'll never find them supporting audio shows, and you'll never find them supporting audio dealers and manufacturers. We think that's super, super important. And that's where we're putting almost all of our marketing funds. We're putting those into the industry, because if the industry doesn't grow, none of this even matters. Amazon is taking they're taking quite advantage of what we're doing now, because we're talking big time high res and really impacting the industry. Where they're impacting and that we never could is they've got 80 billion people already on their site, and they don't have to learn what high res is. The really cool thing is in about 10 minutes, Amazon told more people about high res than we could have in 5 years. So what's really happening is we're ending up getting a whole bunch of Amazon users coming over to Qobuz. What's more, we're ending up getting a lot of Apple users, a lot of Pandora users, a lot of Spotify users, because now we're in that same kind of price point. And, why not have the best quality that you could possibly have for the money that you're spending anyway? If I was spending $12.50 on Spotify and you tell me I could get 2 million cuts at 24/192 for about $2 more, there is no decision there. That's a fall off the boat decision.
Yeah, if I could just jump on that and say, with what you're doing right now in the industry, I think it's fantastic given the current times. You're doing a 21 album giveaway.
Yeah. Let me tell you a little bit about that. We're really trying to give back as much as we possibly can. We just finished a promotion called Gimme Shelter, just so you know what we're trying to do and what we're all about. We just finished this thing called Gimme Shelter. And what that did was any download that you bought on Qobuz, you guys all know that people don't make a lot of money on streaming, right?
Sure.
I hope you know that.
Yeah.
But they still make big money on downloads and album sales and T-shirt sales. So for the last, I think it was 6 weeks, it just ended Sunday. Anytime anyone downloaded any music on Qobuz, like I said, we've got a paid download store. We donated 100% of our profits back to the artists and right holders and whatnot, which was a really big help for those guys, because we ended up having a whole lot of downloads. So my message on this particular thing is, look, artists' cheese has been moved big time, and we do have the ability to help them out. So if you've got a favorite artist out there, go to Qobuz, download their album. Even though you can stream it, download it, because it's like a donation. It's like going to their concert and buying the album, or buying the T-shirt, or even going to their website and buying the album from them. This really helps support artists a lot, and we're into that. The new program that we've got going on right now, called Free Music Gifts, is it's all really about the pandemic that we've got going on right now. And there's a lot of people that are not doing well right now financially. So without being a member of Qobuz, you can go to Qobuz, and we've got 21 albums that are just yours. They're free. We negotiated this with the record labels, and
Super
these
cool.
aren't like B cutouts or anything. These are really, really good albums. They are mostly jazz and classical, but they're really, really good jazz and classical. And this is our gift to you. You don't have to sign up. You don't have to put a credit card down. You don't have to do anything. These are just albums that we're going. Some people out there don't have music to listen to, and that's a shame. So, let's do what we can to help out.
Absolutely, and that's what's so cool, about what you guys are doing, and why I appreciate it so much. On the side of sharing things, also, so we got Derek here. He just shared his playlist. Guys, share your playlist with us. It's always super easy to do. Email us, send it to us. We'd love to listen to them. But you can see it's super easy to do, to create a playlist. And let's share music right now in these times. Let's hop on that, what Qobuz is doing, and let's share some music together. Wow, guys, this has been a fantastic session here. I think we covered a lot with Joseph, and you guys have your own live stream that you guys are doing. When is that? You guys do that, right?
Yeah, we have a few more coming up. So we're going to be doing one tomorrow. It's Thursdays at 1 p.m. Central. Our U.S. office is located in Chicago, so everything goes off Central Time.
Okay.
So yeah, we're doing it on our new Melomania wireless ear monitors, and then we're going to be doing another live stream the following week on our Alba TT turntable.
There it is. Thought we had to put that up there.
Okay,
yeah, we also have. I did a review of that Alba TT turntable, which is fantastic. I think it's a great turntable for the money. So great performing piece there. And then also, David, you're going to be doing some, I can't wait to check these out. It's going to be a Qobuz live with some recording engineers. You're going to do a whole series on that. Those are coming up?
Yeah. We've got some really, really great engineers lined up. And this will really speak to what we were talking about before, about the resolution discussion, the old guys going, can I hear the difference? Or is this just a scam? It's just a bigger number so Americans will like it. We're going to have some really, really accomplished recording engineers. And we'll start that series probably in just a couple of weeks, but we've already lined up the recording engineer for the Derek Trucks, the Tedeschi Trucks band. I haven't asked her, but she's one of my really, really good friends. I'm going to get Cookie Marenko to do the same. Someone was asking about DSD. That's what she does in her studio. Yeah. Although we do have the Blue Coast collection available in 24/192. It sounds fantastic. So yeah, there's quite a few guys on the front end of this whole process that I want to get on. Yeah. Just because I do hear so many of these discussions about going from 16 to 24, does it matter? Like it's just a format difference. Like the labels are going, oh, well, let's just make a bigger number.
That's just, yeah.
People should know what's happening from the very beginning. That way, all of these discussions, if you hear these kinds of conversations, they end. They are no more, and there's no more fights about, whatever these guys want to fight about on the internet these days.
Yep. I just wanted to. So I can't wait to. I'll say geek out with that. I can't wait to see you talking to these guys and talking what they're doing and recording. I mean, long time ago had a band. I was a drummer at that point. So I spent a little time in the studio, and I remember seeing the first time I saw the fader just flying on its own. I was like, what's going on, man? I was kind of freaked out. But yeah, so I've been in the studio and seen it. A little bit of it. I certainly haven't been there. God, it's been 15 years or so since I've been in the studio, so I'm sure a lot has changed. So I can't wait to see that series. That stuff's going to be really cool. Guys, I just wanted to throw up here, what is this? There it is, the Alba TT. We do have that review on our website, also on our YouTube channel that we have. All of my video reviews are there for you guys to check out, so head over in there and take a look. I'm going to just kind of peruse, see if there's any one last kind of cool question here that we can throw up there. Guys, if there's any questions that we didn't get to in the live, we are going to answer them. We'll send them out to myself and our team and get you an answer if we didn't hit it up in this actual live stream here. So I'm going to take one more look around. Routers and networking. No, I don't think. All right. Oh, yeah, this guy. Yep. I know your favorite. Yeah, I know. Yep. Thank you. We've seen him before. He's a fan. All right. So, guys, in wrapping up, again, I want to thank you, David. Thank you, Joseph, for taking the time and spending it here with me and going over all of this stuff. It was certainly fantastic. So thank you. And I want to check out your live streams coming up next. Don't forget, our next one, everyone, is going to be tomorrow night at our Hi-Fi Happy Hour at 5 o'clock. We'll get that posted up here. Anything in closing? Anything you want to say before we head out here, guys?
Well, I just wanted to say, it was really great. I had a great time talking with you guys, and I really appreciate you including us in this, and I'd love to do it again.
Yeah, very happy to have you.
Yeah, same. I echo Joseph's sentiments all the way. You guys are doing a fantastic job. I've seen a whole lot of these live streams, and I'm not saying this just because you're here. Yours actually look better than any I've seen. We want to start using this software that you're using because it really does look really professional. But listen, thanks a lot, Adam, and all of the people behind the scenes too, because a lot of people, it apparently takes a lot of people to set this up. We were on the phone with them for the last few days. So Emily and Amanda, thank you very much for all of your help. And you guys join us on Streaming Music Matters. If I can answer any questions for you, I'm on there quite frequently, and I'll put the put that calculator that we were talking about and then I'll also publish worldwide and Cambridge playlists from today.
Fantastic, that'll be great. All right, guys, this is Adam from Worldwide Stereo. Thank you so much for joining you. I'm going to remind you that the most important music in the world is yours. So please take the time to listen to it every day. Have a great day, guys. So long.
Bye.
Bye.